that are, well, they could be worded better. And there's a couple of places where it seems to be in conflict with 193A, and we really can't have that. So this is something that, you know, we're going to take a vote on whether we will establish, but I highly recommend that we establish it. After it's established, I'll find out who wants to volunteer for it. Okay, do I have a motion to establish a subcommittee to look into proposing changes to ED 315? Michelle?
I'll make a motion to that.
Okay, do I have a second? Mike? Okay. Richard, did you want to discuss the, you know, the proposal that you had showed me?
Absolutely, mind if I join you?
No, go ahead.
Join the grown-ups. I won't take too long, just real quick, I mentioned a couple of times about the technical advisory. I just want to let everybody know I did help with it, but there were 2 other people who worked on it, so Ellie and also Heather Gage also worked on it. I just want to give them the credit for working on it. We spent a lot of time on it, some back and forth, I think 2 or 3 times before we finally got it done and then shipped out, so I just wanted to note that. Some of the background, just real quick, how we got to this point. We just were receiving a lot of contact from different constituents saying that there were schools requesting more than was required by the RSA. That happened several times, and then we decided to take a look at the technical advisory and saw that it needed updating. But during the course of going over it and going over the rules, I was really just trying to pinpoint a particular reason that schools might have been missing the mark, or different school districts might have been missing the mark with regards to what they were requiring from home education programs. And so when I read the statute, at least from my perspective, the statute was pretty clear, so the only other place there really was to look and try to find out why this might be happening with the rules. And so as I was going through, I learned about the advisory council, and I contacted George and asked if he'd meet with me. So we met and just talked about whether or not there might be an appetite to take another look at the rules. He said that he would have to come here and find out whether or not there was. But in preparation for that, I just wanted to kind of lay groundwork in case you decided to go forward with it. And so I did go before the State Board of Education and just kind of alert them that there was, you know, there was some things going on out in the districts that we needed to clean up. And one of the ways we might be able to clean it up is if we took another hard look at the rules. It doesn't necessarily mean there has to be changes, but it's worth, I thought it was worth a look based on the feedback we were getting from the field. So State Board thanked us for bringing it to them, said they certainly would have an appetite for it, and that basically told me I could go forward and come meet with the council and so on and so forth. So I did provide, again, this was just me looking at the rules. Everyone in this room probably has more experience with the New Hampshire rules on home education than I do. If this was just kind of me chopping away at it based on my understanding of the statute. But I understand that this group has a very important role to play, so please, I don't know if you circulated this or not, but
Not yet.
yep, if it hasn't been, again, these are just my thoughts, but what I really look forward to is getting feedback from the subcommittee so that we can see whether or not the rules just need a brushing up. So, with that, I think that's the big witness for me. I'm happy to answer any questions anybody has.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Richard?
Where did you see the largest discrepancies?
What I found when I looked at the rules were there was a lot of language and requirements in the rules that really just didn't match what I was seeing in the statute. Now, I could just give you one example. One of the things I noted was parent of a, let me just make sure it's the right one. So for an example, the parent of a child currently enrolled in public school in the resident district shall advise the resident district superintendent of the child's withdrawal from attendance in public school on or before the date of home education. That was just one example that stood out to me. I was in the military before coming here. I moved many times, moved my children many times, and I don't remember ever being required to notify the school that it was time for me to move my family to a new state or so on and so forth. So those kinds of requirements that I didn't see in the statute, just at least from my perspective as I looked at it, seemed burdensome. Again, my whole goal is with this whole process is to simplify it as much as possible so that home educators have as much latitude in their programs as is legally possible. So I don't want to go into too many hard examples because I don't want to cloud anybody's vision as they look at the rules, but that's just an example. But there was a lot, I'll tell you that. There were a lot of, when I finished and looked back at it, there were a lot of little lines going through a lot of little rules. So.
I think for some of those, there may be reasonable explanations, but there are definitely places in my mind too that need to be revised, no doubt about it.
Right, and one of the things from talking to George is that there is background in some of these rules that I just don't have. So I'm certainly open to, again, looking forward to hearing the subcommittee's thoughts on whether or not the rules need an updating or not. If the answer is no, then the answer is no, but if the answer is yes, then hopefully I can help facilitate that. And having the state board know and be ready for it will expedite the process, which is a long process.
Where do I find the rules?
You can find them on the DOE website, and I don't have it memorized, I apologize, but if you look at the New Hampshire Department of Education website, on the left there's several links, and one of them is going to say legislation, rules, so on and so forth. And once you click the rules, it'll pop up the 300s, and you can click on the 300s. But I can also just send Joy the link, or Ellie if you want to send.
You'll see all the 300s is what I
Right.
found, so what I've done is pulled the home ed.
So you have to look
It's
through
out.
it to find out, to get to the home
Yeah.
administration.
So we can forward just the.
Yeah.
Home education rules are ED 315,
Mhm.
so you want to scroll down to ED 315 rules, and then you'll find them. I think there's 10 or 12 pages or something like that.
That's right.
That's the scrolling through all of them. Drives me crazy.
Yep, it starts at 315, and I think it finishes up at 315.15.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Anybody else? So we're gonna vote. You heard my take that I think we need some rules, and you heard Richard explain why he thought we probably should go into this process. So I will, at this point, ask for a vote on how many are in favor of creating this subcommittee and starting the rulemaking. Well, technically, we don't start the rulemaking process unless we take a vote here that we've accepted the recommendations of the subcommittee, and we're going to send it along to the department, because we're advisory. We create the suggestions, but then the department, looks at our suggestions and decides what to do with them. So technically, we're not starting the rulemaking process, we're just creating a subcommittee that will lay the necessary groundwork. So all those in favor of creating the subcommittee, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So the next bit of business is to determine who would be on this subcommittee. And we definitely need some input from the school districts and the principals, because whatever we do has to work. And then, as many of the homeschoolers that want to take part in this are welcome to. It can be a committee of 3 or 4, it can be a committee of 7 or 8. There's no there isn't some specified number. And if you're involved in something else for HEAC, that it would be too much to be on this subcommittee. You know, I think the rules subcommittee is probably the more important thing, but that's just my take on it. So who do we have that would like to take part in this? Jen? Kara? I'm going to be on it. I'm volunteering. But I'm not going to be the chairman. Who else? Mike? And Helen? Yeah.
Should come to the executive. She's got
Anybody else?
I think 4 is enough.
Well,
Well, the bigger the committee is, the
No,
longer
you're-
it takes.
you're right. If it's too big, it can become unwieldy. But at the same time, I don't want to say to somebody, no, you can't be on it. Okay, so what I've got written down here is Jen, Kara, myself, Mike, and Helen. Is there somebody who volunteered that I didn't put on here? Huh?
No, I'm good.
Wait a minute. Kitty, did you raise your hand? No.
I see Kitty,
Kind of
she can give me
agree.
feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Okay, so then that's the subcommittee. And we'll get together afterwards and figure out when we should have our first meeting, when and where. Because the where kind of comes into the picture. Okay. I was just speaking with Stephen Berwick before the meeting. Stephen, he wears a lot of hats here, and one of the hats that he wears is to make preparations for the bicentennial, the Statehouse bicentennial contest. It's been going on. You can stay there.
I think I'm gonna, if there's nothing.
Oh, no, yeah, you can, yes, if you have other things.
Thanks so much for having me, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
There's something called the Statehouse Bicentennial Contest. It's been going on, different versions of it for, I think this is the 4th year. And this year it's a multimedia contest that homeschoolers, as well as private schoolers and public schoolers are welcome to participate in. Don't have a lot of details yet. I just wanted to bring it to your awareness. Last year, I tried to get this off the ground for homeschoolers, and it ended up, from what Steve told me, that we didn't have any homeschoolers that took part. So I want to get started earlier this year, and hopefully this year we'll have some. Well, we ran through this pretty quick. I know that the commissioner wanted to come in and speak for a few minutes, but like I said, I think he's running behind up there. Okay, does anybody have anything to add, Michelle?
National School Choice Week is the week of January 20th through the 26th. That's a national PR, literally tens of thousands of events that go around across the country. So far, there's one event planned in New Hampshire that'll be on Tuesday, the 22nd, at the Pony Center in Concord from 11:30 to 1:30. We have a number of different school organizations and groups participate. It's a kid-friendly event. Tickets are free. You'll be able to see more about that coming up. So the New Hampshire event so far is on January 22nd.
What are the times?
11:30 to 1:30 at the Pony Center in Concord.
Okay, thanks.
This is something that's a little tricky, and I addressed it at the last state board meeting, because some people in public education, I don't think that you guys are in this opinion, but some of the people in public education think of any effort to assist non-public school students is an attack on public schools. And what I mentioned at the state board meeting was that it's really not. I mean, when I went to college, I found out that for something like 3,000 or 4,000 years, people have been debating the best way to educate people. So, in a public school system, there are limitations on how flexible you can get. That's just a fact of life. And there's an awful lot of people who are fine with sending their kids into a public school. We're not here, we're here to deal with homeschooling, but at the same time, the openness to other forms of education, I think is important. And basically, I'm just bringing it up because it's kind of a passion of mine that non-public schools are really a big piece of choice for parents. Not because the public schools are terrible, simply because the public schools there's only so much flexibility that you can build into a system. So that's my 2 bits for the national school choice. Is it month or week?
The week.
Week. There's just an awful lot of different avenues that are possible out there.
I sit on the non-public school advisory council as well, and we're now, and I just went to a law clinic a month ago. Matt McClay